Good morning. I am the Reverend Kirsten Homblett Allen, and I am very happy to welcome you this morning to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. In today's service, we are joined by a special guest, Nicole Pressley. Woo! She is the Director of Organizing Strategy at our Unitarian Universalist Association, where she spearheads the Side with Love initiative. You may have heard of it. As a Black queer organizer and seasoned communications strategist, Nicole has committed her career to grassroots mobilization and capacity enhancement in areas such as labor, economic justice, and reproductive rights. In 2020, the Center for American Progress recognized her as one of the faith leaders to watch. Nicole earned a BA in African American Studies from Northwestern University and resides on the west side of Chicago. Also joining in our service today is our minister, the Reverend Margalie Belizaire, our Director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment, Judith Stein-Farrell, our Director of Music, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, and our Chalice Choir, and Board President Greg Buckingham. I also want to recognize Lisa Marie, our resident poet, who's going to give us a beautiful offering this morning. I also always want to shout out our teams of wonderful people who work in the background every Sunday to ensure that we come together this morning. So thank you, thank you. I also want to add here a personal gratitude. We had a big event here yesterday on our campus for the Yes on 4 campaign. Lots of you were there, and there were people doing so much to help make that event a success. People moving tables, people bringing ice, people caring for children, people doing security, people checking people in to canvass, people doing the phone bank room. I can't even name all of the jobs that existed yesterday. But if you were involved in any way, do not be humble and wave your hand right now so we can see the involvement. Amazing. I also especially want to shout out our partners in that event yesterday and in our ongoing canvas today. My compatriot and lead organizer, Cheyenne Drews, is here with us this morning from Progress, Florida. Her incredible team of organizers just made that event so smooth. We had hundreds of people at the rally. We had hundreds of people canvassing and phone banking. Our collective effort will make a difference here in Orlando when it comes to Amendment 4. I also want to thank folks from the 17 partner organizations who were part of that rally yesterday. It was incredible. I just want to say that collectively we can do amazing things, and it was wonderful to witness. Okay, back to logistics. So today, our children will go to activities when we sing them out after the time for all ages, and our nursery is open until noon, although I will also say it will be open an extended amount of time for canvassing this afternoon if you need to leave your kids with us to participate. We greet you this morning, old friends and new, as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to our community. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we are a non-creedal community that does not subscribe to a specific set of beliefs. Instead, we live by a covenant that encourages ethical behavior, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in a search for truth in individual and collective meaning. Whether today is your first time or your 1,000th Sunday in our midst, you are very welcome here. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. In this community, your whole self is welcome. We welcome your race, national origin, immigration status, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, and religious background. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation and announcements about what's happening here, you can go to our website, orlandouu.org, or email us at info@orlandouu.org. This is a busy season, and we have some special announcements today. Next Sunday, November 10th, you can join Reverend Margoley at noon in Classroom B across the way here for Let's Talk UU. Bring your thoughts and ideas about religion. Let's have a lively and enriching discussion. You can see Judith or Reverend Margoley for more information. We also have many church members who staff our church as a polling site on Tuesday. It's a very long day for them as the county does not allow split shifts. The church provides lunch, but if you're able, some salty or sweet snacks would be much appreciated during the day. You can drop them off anytime on Tuesday at the front door of Gore Hall, and our poll deputy will be in the parking lot to accept them. Thank you. And now Reverend Margoley will come up to share some other special election week activities with us.
Good morning. As we think about next week, right, we have this big election coming, and we wanted to make sure that we are supporting you as much as we can. And so we've thought of a couple of things that we can do during the week. And as things happen, we may add more programming, but for now, on Election Day on Tuesday, we'll have the sanctuary open. If you need a quiet space to come and just be, we'll have some candles here if you want to light a silent candle. I'll be in the entryway at a table, so that if anybody wishes to talk, but we'll have the sanctuary open for you just from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., just for quiet reflection, if that's something you need. And on Wednesday night, we are hoping to gather, starting at 6. We invite you to come in and be in Gore Hall for just to be in fellowship with one another. Bring your dinner if you want, and then at 7 we'll meet in here for a service, and that's the Wednesday after election night. And both Reverend Marnie and Reverend Kirsten will join me in that service. And then we also are thinking about Sunday, post-election Sunday. So we are crafting a service that will be a little different from what we normally do here. Again, we're keeping you in mind, how we can best support one another, how we can best support this community during the week, election week. Okay, so next Sunday, both Reverend Marnie and Reverend Kirsten will join me, and we're hoping to make space, breaking up into smaller group during part of the service, to make space for you to share what's on your heart, no matter what the news is. We know what news we're hoping for, at least I do. But whatever the news is, we want to make sure we make space for you to share what's on your heart. We'll be together for part of the time, and also we'll break up so that there is room for you to share. Okay, so that's next week. We have some of that information, well, all of that information. We have copies of it out there for you on the little table in the entryway. So if what I said here, you missed some of it, you can get a copy. Okay, so get out and vote if you haven't.
All other announcements are on slides before and after the service and have links in our weekly update email or on our website. If you'd like to follow along to the service or see this week's upcoming events, you can use the QR code shown on the monitor. And finally, please plan to stay with us after the service for fellowship and coffee hour in Gore Hall across the courtyard. For a quieter, casual conversation, you can move around the corner into the Gore Hall foyer for the conversation corner. All are welcome, but a special invitation goes to our visitors this morning or anyone with questions about our congregation or today's service. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, in person or online today. As we approach our chalice lighting, which is a ritual to mark this space as sacred, our chalice lighting will be read by Maya, who's in 3rd grade and loves to read and draw.
Please join me in saying these words as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Please rise and embody our spirit and join me in singing our opening song, We Shall Be Known. The words will be projected on the screen.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in
Yes. We hope there will be a great turning, and we definitely need to lead in love. So, good morning, beloveds. It is good to be with you this morning. This month of November, we are exploring the practice of repair. As a reminder, one of the things that we are invited to do with the themes throughout the year is to practice them throughout the month, which is why the practice is in front of them. And November to me seems to signal that the end of the year is near. It's right around the corner. And it might be a time for us to address things left undone during the year, or things or relationship we might wish to repair before a new year is upon us. So that's how I look at this month. And with that in mind, I call us to worship with the words of Bob Smith. Actually, it's just a portion of it. Let us rebuild. November is the season of repair. This is the moment to address the damage we have carelessly inflicted throughout the year, to speak of secret wounds with quiet courage, the path before us, difficult but clear. Let us rebuild the ruins of the heart, drawing upon forbearance, faith, and art. And come, beloveds, let us worship together. And you know, at this time, when I say that, it's usually our invitation to greet one another. So take a moment, greet one another, say hello. And if there's someone you haven't seen in a while, you may want to make a beeline for them, because soon Aubrey will stop us.
Thank you for having me. My name is Lisa Marie, and the title of my poem is Peaceful Street. I woke up the night after Halloween feeling very eerie because I decided to sleep instead of walking down 1 block from my house where a mass shooting occurred on Orange and Central. When I have trouble with sleep, I take a walk since the city breathes a little more soft at 1 a.m. Its colors much quieter than the biting vividness of my dreams. I don my white-colored eye contacts with a zombie level of brightness that seems to clear everyone in my path. It's so strange, the level of safety I find in my dime-sized drops of dome silicone sticking to my eyeballs. I wish peace and freedom would stick as quietly and as closely to the eyes of everyone. A peace and freedom so gentle you don't even remember putting them in, or that you're continuously looking through their lens. I wish to live on a street where we don't have to scare anyone to feel safe, where the rights to bodily autonomy aren't being taken away, where walk at night is our safest place. Because this street in my state has yet to achieve that space, where everyone with birthing bodies feels safe, not just on the street, but in the skylines of the city holding their dreams. Of a place which honors the freedom to choose, freedom to dream, freedom to write and to follow our truths, to start a family or find a chosen one, to not have a baby or have more than one, Isn't this the city we all aspire to, where every child has the right to safety in thriving neighborhoods and sustainable community, where there's space in the skyline for everyone's dreams, where the right to a peaceful street is just as beautiful as a peaceful sleep.
Just take a look. I have a box here I'm giving to Reverend Margulie. There we go. For the visitors here this morning, my name is Judith Stein Farrell. I'm the Director of Lifespan Religious Enrichment this morning, and it's time for all ages. A time where I invite particularly the young ones and the young at heart to come join me up here while we talk to them and to all of you at a multi-generational level. Have a seat and stay a while. Come on up. I gave this morning, coming in our door this morning, our children and youth were invited to fill out a ballot to vote on something special for us to do next week in our religious enrichment area. We will either have a pajama day here, or we will have a backwards day here. And that was what they were asked to vote on. So I've given the box to Reverend Margulie to tabulate the ballots. Are you excited to find out what those look like? Yeah. The time it's going to take to do that will be short for this particular set of ballots. But while we're waiting, I'm going to share a little bit more with you. So let's see, we have kids here ranging from 3 years to about 10 years old. I'm sorry, 12 and 13 years old, right? Ooh, gosh. Well, when I was 8 years old, let me go back even further. When I was about 6 years old, my mother took me to vote with her in my school cafeteria. And the voting booth looked like this. Right? It was a big closet. You walked in, they closed the curtain, and you pressed a lot of buttons, and what else did you do? Pull a lever. What's that like? Is that like Las Vegas? So has anyone gone voting with their parents so far yet? Yeah. Doesn't it look more like this? Or this, sorry, this. Yeah, looks more like that, right? It's a lot different. How's it different? Yeah, go ahead.
It's more beautiful.
It's more beautiful. Wow. Why?
Because of the new people that have new ideas.
The new people that have new ideas. I love our kids! Before, we didn't do this when I was voting back in the when my mother was voting back in the 1960s, but now our parents get these things, which are sample ballots that look a lot like the ballots that they're going to vote on. If anyone wants to see it, I will leave it down here. Would you hand it back to our older kids? Doesn't help to bring a timer up if you don't set it. Never mind. How important is the outcome to this vote that you did today? How important is the outcome?
Very.
It's very important.
Extremely.
Do you want your choice to happen?
Yes.
Are you stressing out about it?
Yes.
Sometimes. But you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Right? You did your part. You all filled out a ballot. And by the way, there were a couple that our RE chair came in and said, mail-in ballots have been added to the box. And she did it right in front of me, so we know they came in after. So it's stressful, and we don't know what's going to happen. And do you have any control over it now? But you've done your job. You've done your job. Y'all are doing your job this week. Your parents are going to do their job, and how are they feeling?
Stress.
Your parents are stressed. Whose parents are stressed out?
Okay. What can you do about that?
Say it's okay, breathe.
Breathe.
Also be stressed.
Awesome. But it's better to try to relax on their behalf, right? Okay. Back when my mom took me to vote in those, can I have that other picture up? Back when she went voting in those other ballots, it was the 1960s. Women had only had the vote for 40 years. Today, it's 104 years. This has been a country for 250 years. It has in 1969, when my mother took me to that first picture, to that first voting booth, the Voting Rights Act had been passed 4 years before. It's that close. It's that important. Reverend Margoley, do we have a, oh, we do. Where? Oh, the clipboard's right here, okay. Ooh, the one Reverend Margoley wanted did not win. I don't know. So, just for the record, I only had 2 boxes, this or that, but apparently someone officially abstained. It was a very close election. There were 6 votes for one, 8 votes for the other, and 1 abstention. Do we need a recount? So majority rules, which is a little different, which is the way some of the parts of the election will work, and other parts are going to have to work with an electoral college. That's another lesson. So officially, next week, Reverend Margoley's idea isn't going to happen, or preference isn't going to happen, but we're going to have Backwards Day. Woo! So everybody can wear, and this goes for the adults too, if you want to participate, you can wear your shirts backwards, and you can walk backwards, and you can have dinner for breakfast if you so desire. On that note, everybody, we're going to move on to our classes, understanding that this next week is going to be stressful for our parents, and it might be stressful for us, but can we make anything happen easier? Just how we respond to it. We can be together. Okay? All right, take a deep breath. Adults on the aisle, please create an arch for our kids to move on to the classrooms.
Good morning. Good to see everyone. I'm Greg Buckingham, President of the Board of Trustees, and we invite you now into a practice of generosity. It is one of our spiritual values which sustains the life and ministry of the church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give, for it is a privilege to be able to do so. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity to practice receiving. Just a reminder to everyone that voting for the 2025 Share the Plate recipients is open through November 5th at 5 p.m. The top 6 organizations will be selected for next year's recipients. See the weekly update for more information on that. Today's full collection will go to this month's Share the Plate recipient, Planned Parenthood. And Jeannie Lowry, Director of Philanthropy for the Planned Parenthood of South Florida and Central Florida, that's a great title, is here to tell us more about the great work of the organization.
So, give you all a little clue. I started with Planned Parenthood of Southwest and Central Florida 6 weeks ago. So, I'm a little more notes dependent than I normally would be. If you have us back next year, I promise I won't need as many notes. So, thank you for letting me be here. Greg got my title correct, but it's a little misleading. He said I'm the Director of Philanthropy for the affiliate, and we actually have a VP of Philanthropy for the affiliate. I am working specifically in the greater Orlando area. So the Central Florida part, that's me. So thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. I am so grateful for all you have done. Charlotte was telling me that this congregation here helped start the first Planned Parenthood in the Orlando area, and that is amazing. Thank you. So I have been given this to read, so I don't want to get this wrong. Today's Alliance has established a dollar-for-dollar match for all donations made to Planned Parenthood in November, up to $1,000. So if any of you give today, that up to $1,000, your donations will be matched. And that is an amazing thing to have your donation go twice as far. So thank you for anything you can do for us as you consider a gift today. So I think everybody here knows that Planned Parenthood provides reproductive care, but let me give you a little list of some of the things we do. And I'm going to rely on my list here because my boss wrote it, so I'm pretty sure it's correct. We do cancer screenings. We do well, she wrote STD, but we all know it's STI testing and treatment. We do HPV vaccinations, breast health and mammogram referrals, well-person exams, menopause care, birth control and free condoms, pregnancy testing and ultrasounds, pregnancy options counseling, miscarriage care and management, gender-affirming care, emergency contraception, Pap tests and pelvic exams, abortion care, and of course, you may not know this last one, our affiliate is now about to launch vasectomies in some of our clinics. So, a full range of services. So, given what's on the ballot on Tuesday and all that is at stake here in Florida with Amendment 4, I want to tell you a quick story. I actually don't need notes for this one because this is my story. I've had the privilege of going out to a couple of our clinics and doing some shadows where some patients have very kindly and graciously allowed me to go through with them through their visits. Sometimes, you know, it's a very personal thing you're going through when you step into a Planned Parenthood, and to allow a complete stranger to sit there and listen to your answers to very personal questions, and as you struggle with various decisions you need to make with your healthcare provider, it's a great honor that they allowed me to be a part of that. And I want to tell you a story about one particular woman, and we're not even going to get into what clinic she was at or anything else, but she was there because she had taken an at-home pregnancy test and it had come up positive, and she knew that was not a pregnancy she could go through with. So she had come in, and she came in she called the day she took the test, and she was there the next morning. And she was so scared. I mean, her fear was palpable. And they went through the whole legalese process of signing the consent, because you have to have your procedure, then you can't have it for at least 24 hours after you sign the consent in Florida. So a lot of these choices are now 2-day appointments, or they don't spend the night, but they go home, they come back.
She had an ultrasound, and I was in the room with her, and she was so scared of what they were going to tell her of how far along she was. And it turned out she was 5 weeks and 6 days. For a brief second, she heard the 5 weeks, and she almost, the stress almost left her body. And then the 6 days came out, and she just broke down sobbing. And I was trying to comfort her. Our practitioners were trying to comfort her. And I went with her. We went down the hall to some of our counseling services, and they helped her build a plan because we couldn't do anything for her the next day because it was 6 weeks. And we all know what that means right now. So we went down the hall, and she talked with a counselor, and we built a plan to the point where we were taking out our cell phones and making calls to people she knew who could help her get transportation out of state so she could get the care she needed. She's fortunate. She came to Planned Parenthood, and we built that plan. And as far as I know, it worked. She hasn't come back. We haven't heard from her again. So I'm hoping our plan worked and she was able to get the care she needed. But that is why Tuesday is so important, and that is why your support is so important to us. We are so grateful to be able to do what we do and provide the care no matter what that we can provide. But we want to do more, and we want to do better, and we want to serve more patients. But it's your support that helps us do that. So as you consider a gift today, keep that young woman in mind, and especially as you go to vote. I've already voted. I hope some of you have too. But if you haven't voted yet, if you're waiting for Tuesday, keep her in mind. And just, that is all. Keep her in mind. I could talk more about a few other things that my boss wrote out, but I think I'm going to leave it at that and just ask you to keep all of our patients in mind and just do what you can for them as you already are. And I just want to thank all of you for all you've done for Planned Parenthood today, yesterday, and especially tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. The offering will now be collected. Note that you can also give online. We invite you, we're going to sing during the offertory this week. We invite you to remain seated and sing the words for today's offertory song, "Let This Be a House of Peace." The words will be projected above.
Art
offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and fellowship.
And this is the time we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. Know that in this space, we make space for both your joys and for your sorrows. If you attend in person, you can complete a card, and the welcome team the greeters make sure that we receive this. And during the week, you can send us emails of your joys and your sorrows at joysandsorrows@orlandouu.org. And we also make space for you to light a candle for those things you want to continue to hold in your heart. So know that here you can bring your joys, your sorrows as we come together. We invite you to come just as you are, because your whole self is welcome here as we create sacred space together. Today's flowers, these beautiful flowers here, are provided by Rebecca and Mike Wright in honor of everyone's loved ones who have passed beyond the veil. We have quite a few joys and sorrows here to share with you. We received one from Marty Haney, who first shares her joy at granddaughter Amelia's 9th birthday. And she also appreciates all the love and support as Pete's health challenges continue. And as you may know, and she indicated that I could share this, Pete was in the hospital last week still, and I don't know if he is home at this point. We also have a concern. Pray that those affected in Halloween's shooting are doing okay. And then the person also added, "Gun sucks," with a sad face. May it be so that those who were affected in any way, may they be okay. There's a prayer request from Rebecca and Mike Wright, who says to please send positive healing energy to Raphael while he faces the possibility of lymphoma. So Rebecca and Mike, we will I definitely will, and I invite all of us to send healing energy for Raphael. And we have this note from the Horns family, Elizabeth, Justin, and Ansley and Nolan. We are mourning the loss of our beloved canine companion, Slater. He lived a long and healthy 16 years, and we are grateful to have had him in our lives. We will miss him. Oh, so sorry about that. May all the good memories with him bring joy to all of you. We also have a note from Jackie Humphreys, who has told us that her mother is finally free from suffering and at peace. Being evacuated for Hurricane Milton took the last life that was left in her, and she finally passed over on Halloween morning. And she added, if you knew my parents, it was their favorite holiday, so it is very fitting. And she also says, thank you, everyone, for all your support. It has really been appreciated over the last year, and she hopes to see us soon, and adds that her mom's name was Catherine Ann Humphreys. We have a note from Scott and Sarah letting us know as we embark on our next chapter, we are sending a big thank you to you. Thank you for welcoming us into your arms for the last year and a half. We really enjoyed getting to know you and to find like-minded folks in a new place. Thanks for all the boxes. We used every last one of them and more. Stay in touch. Spooky thank yous to the team that put on last Friday's Halloween party. A monstrous time was had by all. There was themed food, beautiful cookies, games, costumes, and fortune tellers. It was a great way to meet new people and enjoy the fun. So, great job, everyone. And thank you to the Music Salon team for the beautiful concert last Saturday night. The musicians were excellent. We're all looking forward to the next one in December with the Magic Bronze. And as you all know, may you all take very good care of yourselves this coming week with election. And as you heard during Time for All Ages, even the kids are noticing there's a lot of anxiety in the air. So may you take very good care of yourselves during the week. And we continue to hold our Orlando families in love and communities with care and the world with our compassion by acting for justice in all the small and large ways that will move the arc of the universe towards justice. And let us remember that we are connected to all living creatures, and let's send them all loving kindness. And for all the joys and sorrows that we continue to hold close to our hearts, let us pray, let us celebrate, and let us send one another healing energy. And I now invite you into a meditative prayer. We're just going to do a breathing prayer, certain things that we'll breathe in and some will breathe out, okay? And these are the words of Reverend Nathan Walker. So take a stance that you would in moments such as these. Close your eyes if that feels right for you. And breathe in. I am aware of my pain. Breathe out. I am aware that I am not my pain. Breathe in. I am aware of my past. Breathe out. I am aware that I am not my past. Breathe in. I am aware of my anger. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my anger. Breathing in, I am aware of my despair. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my despair. Let us breathe in. I am aware of peace. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of peace. Breathe in. I am aware of love. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of love. Breathing in, I am aware of joy. Breathing out, I am aware I am an agent of joy. Breathing in, I am aware of hope. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of hope. Breathing in, that I am aware. If you would now come up and light a candle of welcome, of remembrance, loving kindness, of hope. First candle will be to honor the joys and concerns of those attending online, and the last one will be to hold the joys and concerns that we continue to keep to ourselves.
it with the Spirit giving power. I will find true harmony.
Hello. Today's reading comes from Howard Thurman's Sound of the Genuine. The sound of the genuine is flowing through you. Don't be deceived and thrown off by all the noises that are a part of even our dreams, your ambitions, so that you don't hear the sound of the genuine in you. Because that is the only true guide that you will ever have. And if you don't have that, you don't have a thing. Now, if I hear the sound of the genuine in me, and if you hear the sound of the genuine in you, it is possible for me to go down in me and come up in you, so that when I look at myself through your eyes, having made that pilgrimage, I see in me what you see in me, and the wall that separates and divides will disappear, and we will become one, because the sound of the genuine makes the same music. Good morning, everyone. As Reverend Kirsten said, I am Nicole Pressley, the Director of Organizing Strategy at our Side with Love team at the UUA. And it is truly wonderful to be in the great state of Florida. I am originally from Niagara Falls, New York, but I used to live in Atlanta, and most of my family is from the South, mostly Alabama and Georgia. And so I know that the South can sometimes get a bad rap. I know, as you know, that the stories in the news can often focus on Confederate flags and monuments, on wild school board meetings and book bans. But we know that's not the whole story. What they forget and dismiss are the vibrant, powerful, and love-filled movements for justice that are working to change that trend. Not everyone gets to be a part of the powerful experience of yesterday's rally. Not everyone gets to see what is happening across Florida to return reproductive rights to the Sunshine State. Amen. It filled my heart to be able to join Unitarian Universalists from across the state and leaders, organizers, and partners in the work to pass Amendment 4. It reminded me of why and how I found this faith to begin with. It was the social justice ministry of Unitarian Universalism that brought me into this faith in 2015. On November 15th, 2015, when I was living in Minneapolis at the time, the Minneapolis police killed a Black man named Jamar Clark. That night, community members, organizers, and activists formed an encampment outside of the 4th Precinct in Minneapolis to demand the release of body camera footage and to demand justice for Jamar Clark. For over 2 months, businesses, organizations, labor unions, and everyday people came together to build and sustain a community. Meals were served, warm clothing provided, systems of care and security were designed, people danced, people sang, and people preached. One night, as many of us huddled under the heaters donated to us by the Sierra Club, Reverend Danny Givens, a minister that worked at the Unitarian Universalist congregation in St. Paul, preached a sermon about Henrietta Lacks. And he called on us to remember the many ways in which the violation of her body and her agency is also a feature of so much of the injustice we still face today. How those in power seek to control our bodies and our futures. And that night, after several years of not going to church because I often found more condemnation than compassion, I felt that I might as well give Unitarian Universalism a try. Not just because of an amazing sermon, but because they showed up to the work with the people so often forgotten by our parties and by our policies. Reverend Kirsten and Keisha Mulford from the ACLU this weekend reminded us that while we work to pass reproductive rights, we must also be in the larger fight for reproductive justice. Sister Song defines reproductive justice as the human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, to have children, to not have children, and to parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. Reproductive justice means that people have both the right to an abortion and the resources to access it. It means we no longer send our children to schools in fear because our lawmakers are more concerned with regulating our bodies than guns. It means that our families have housing, fair wages, health care. It means access to voting and to have a voice in the conditions under which we live. Conditions for too many here in Florida and across the country that mean struggle, isolation, fear, and sometimes death. It means that we have the ability to dream and make those dreams a reality. Gathered here today in this physical sanctuary and the sanctuary that we create through our collective actions, we find ourselves on the edge of an historic moment. An election that will determine the conditions under which we live and the conditions under which we organize. Election seasons have a way of bringing urgency to the surface. Elections remind us that our world is not static. And though we know the 2024 election up and down the ballot is critical, we must understand that it is also consequential. That where we find ourselves right now is the consequence of the actions we have taken and the ones that we have not taken. And where we might find ourselves in the days after the election will be the consequence of what we do today, the day of Election Day, and the many days to follow. All is not won in a night. Today, the opportunity to pass Amendment 4 is a testimony to the thousands of volunteers, like many of you all, who gathered over 1 million petition signatures to get this amendment on the ballot. It is the result of donations given generously to power the campaign. It is the fruit born of staff and volunteers of Florida Rising, Planned Parenthood, Progress Florida, Florida Asian American Justice Alliance, and Poder Latinx, and many more, who have been working tirelessly for years on issues to those who have been systematically neglected and targeted by our unjust systems. We find ourselves here today on the verge of so much possibility because of the long-haul work, investment, and campaigns that we're working on issues, many of which intersect with reproductive justice. Our actions today are consequential in ways we may never know, because when we do this work in partnership, we grow the relationships that we need to build the essential power to win. The power to win Medicaid expansion, the power to grow labor unions, the power to put books back in our schools and OBGYNs back in our clinics and our hospitals. This is where we are, the consequence of sometimes our concessions and the consequence of our most courageous actions. Side with Love is our faith's call to live our values in the public square. It is framed as an invitation to choose in all things and at all times love. No matter who you love, no matter who you call God, and sometimes no matter the risk. I get the honor to lead an amazing team for Side with Love at the Unitarian Universalist Association. And this work has called many in our faith to courageous and sometimes risky action. It is anchored in our faith's amazing legacy of justice work. We often mention how Unitarian Universalists helped to abolish slavery. We often honor Unitarian Universalist minister James Reeb, who was murdered in his fight for civil rights. But I've gotten to meet many of the UUs of today. Those who were arrested in the fight to stop Line 3 in Minnesota and to stop Cop City in Atlanta. UUs who showed up to confront Sheriff Arpaio in Arizona and stop SB 1070. People who have housed asylum seekers and many who sent trucks of supplies and offered care during Hurricanes Helene and Milton. On Friday, it was a team of Unitarian Universalists and our partners at Aliento who sent over 500,000 text messages to Arizona voters to stop a racist and anti-immigrant ballot measure. Every day, congregations lead prison ministries to make sure folks know that they are not forgotten and that there is love and support for them when they return to their communities. Here in Florida, in 2018, you all passed another Amendment 4 to restore the right to vote to returning citizens. These are not distant figures in our history, they are you. All of us, a part of a living tradition we uphold. We can sometimes downplay the consequence of our actions and begin to believe that they don't matter. And trust me, as a person who has worked on many campaigns for very many years, this election has often made me feel like, what was it all worth? Until I see the many people that have joined our coalitions and our movements because of that work. From the smallest acts of kindness to the grandest gestures of solidarity, our actions ripple outwards, shaping our world in ways we may never recognize. Because as abolitionist organizer Mariame Kaba says, everything worthwhile doing is done with people. Everything worth doing starts with ourselves and people and friends and voters and calling them to a place, maybe a rally, maybe a protest, maybe the voting booth, all for the purpose of transformation of ourselves and of our world. I believe this moment right now is transforming our nation. You can all feel it. You all in Florida are leading the way, showing millions what is possible through democratic and collective action. You are showing everyone that our politics and visions for justice can sometimes fall outside of party affiliation, and that possibility is always in the hands of the people. As a Black queer woman, I remember when a certain party didn't support gay marriage. I have seen both parties argue against abortion rights. I know that under Jim Crow, Fannie Lou Hamer organized to push Democrats to find themselves on the right side of history. It was people who made this possible. My friends, power concedes nothing without a demand. It takes we, the people, to organize and flex our power to make sure that what we need to thrive is what our leaders need to champion in order to get elected. At our Unitarian Universalist Association's annual General Assembly, Stacey Abrams and Amendment 4 champion Desmond Reed spoke about what is possible when we work together. Stacey Abrams says, I imagine what I need, and then I demand what I must have. And I don't do it alone, because if I do it alone, it means that I'm losing every time. Earlier, I told you a story about how I found Unitarian Universalism in 2015. But what I didn't tell you is that a year later, after working on the 2016 election, I left Minnesota and I left organizing. I was tired, I was burnt out, and I was heartbroken because I saw the neighborhoods with doors that didn't get knocked. I saw the campaign messaging and policies that ignored my communities. I saw the millions spent on elections for candidates and the billions withheld from the very communities that required them to get elected. So I left Minnesota and moved to Atlanta. And little did I know, there was a beautiful coalition organizing to fundamentally change political conditions in Georgia. One that was changing how and who we organize so that we can win what we need. So I let go of my rage and I got back to work. 2 years later, I got to join all of you in our national initiative to UU the Vote, the one that activated over 5,000 Unitarian Universalists across the country to reach out to over 2 million voters. We all make calls to Georgia voters. Many of us served as election defenders in a historic runoff election. And then in 2022, in the midterms, I got to travel with UUA staff and the New Georgia Project to 3 Unitarian Universalist congregations to rally, to phone bank, to sign up volunteers, to knock on doors. And that year, we had UUs across the country travel to Savannah and Atlanta to knock on doors every day for a week and a half for yet another historic runoff election. And then on election night, we celebrated historic voter turnout with New Georgia Project at their election night party, where CEO Kendra Cotton gave UUs a shout out and where some of their volunteers even taught some UUs how to twerk. I don't know which made me more proud. But this is not 2022, and this is not Georgia. The people in this room and the communities you all represent will determine your own paths and your own futures. And the possibilities of that future are born from the consequence of your actions today and for years to come. Now, let me be clear, the measure of your work is not determined by the result of this election, but it is measured by the work we put into building the power of our movements by not shying away from our values and not shying away from each other. We need more of us and more from us, as Mary Hooks would say. If we learn anything from the packed rally yesterday with our voices amplified through the neighborhood, maybe with a permit, maybe without one, it is that we don't win by being silent, and we do not win by going it alone. So when we find ourselves today, tomorrow, or next year called to the work of justice, remember that our actions have consequence, even when we don't immediately see it. In those times, find yourselves here, in this moment, among fellow activists, organizers, and faith communities, anchored in the words of Arundhati Roy that proclaims, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way." So today, when you are knocking on doors or calling voters, and maybe you don't convince everyone to vote yes on 4 or to vote at all, remember the spirit of this day and remember that together we have power. When you are driving home and you see signs or flags of the opposition, remember that we have power. On election day, when the vote, or the days after, when the election is called, and we are celebrating our wins and grieving our losses, remember that we have power. We have it. We have everything we need if we do this work together. Thank you. And now, please rise in body or spirit as we sing one verse from our closing hymn, Building a New Way.
The words of our benediction this morning come from the Reverend Darcy Roque, who is a UU minister in New Orleans. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do what calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day. As the incredible Reverend Margulies says, beloveds, worship has ended, and now the service truly begins. Our call to action this morning is perhaps a predictable one, and it comes in two parts from me. Firstly, if you have not voted and you are eligible to do so, today is the last day of early voting. You can do it until 8 p.m. at an early voting location. The closest one to here is the Mark Street Senior Center. Of course, you can vote here on Election Day if this is your precinct with our incredible election workers, or wherever you need to be on Election Day. Secondly, if you have voted already and you are feeling anxious, please come and join us today. Right after service, we will be canvassing and phone banking over here in the Enrichment Center. Even if you have not signed up already, you are most welcome to be there. We have shifts at 12:30, 2:30, and 4:30, and you can have a free lunch if you come to the 12:30 one. We need all of the voices, all of the people power. As Nicole so powerfully put it, we can use our power today to encourage people to get out and vote.
Please say these words with me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Won't be divided, rise with spirit to guide us, rise in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here in a hope, in prayer, we're right here in a hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here in hope, in prayer, we're right here and we rise, all of the children rise. ancestors surround us. Rise in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise up from the wreckage. Rise with tears and with courage. Rise fighting for life. We rise in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided.